Hi everyone, I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to another live ukulele lesson with me, Matt Stead. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at Henry Mancini's beautiful Moon River, and we're going to look at how I created the chord melody arrangement version of it. So let's see how you're all doing. Oh gosh, loads of people here. Absolutely brilliant. Great to see so many of you. Ted's just saying he's wondering about the summer retreat. Oh, go on, Ted. You know you want to. It's going to be fantastic. So, yeah. And don't worry about the chords yet, Ted, because you'll see when you turn them into the chord melody, actually, it's way easier than it looks. It's one of those ones where the actual chords themselves are really tricky. But because we play them as partial chords, often we're only playing 2 or 3 notes. So it actually works out way easier than you'd imagine, so it's all good. Hope you're all keeping well. Is it sunny where you are? It is where Laura is. It is where I am. I recorded a video in the garden this morning, a bit of a Hawaiian ukulele on a 100-year-old ukulele amongst the daffodils, because it's just so gorgeous out there. I just absolutely couldn't resist it at all. So Fran, don't panic, I'll show you as well. So it's honestly it's a lot easier than it looks. There's still a couple of tricky ones, but remember there's always alternatives as well to some of those as well. So you know, there's always all sorts of good ways of playing everything. Hi Wayne, hi Leslie. I've got my afternoon coffee, Leslie. There we go. All good to go. All right, okay. Oh, brilliant. It's Teresa's first live session. Well done, Teresa. You made it. Fantastic. That is absolutely brilliant. Hi, Anthony. Anthony is our student in the spotlight this month, if you're interested. If you have a look at the website, learnukulele.com, I've got a whole interview of Anthony all about his learning journey, which is loads of fun. And I think if I'm right, Anthony, you're going to be my cameraman down at Southern Ukulele Store when I play there later in the month, aren't you? Which is fabulous. Fantastic. Okay, right. Let's have a look at what we're doing today. Oh, before we do, just let me tell you about one thing. I've planned out the next live lesson for 2 weeks' time. Remember, we're back to the just rolling 2-week schedule now. So the next one, we're going to look at campanella uke. That way of playing notes where each note kind of rings over the next one. We're going to have a look at one of my original pieces called Pale Pale Moon. I won't play the whole thing, but it has this... Hear those kind of ringing notes as they kind of ring over each other. A key kind of part of campanella playing, which comes from the Italian meaning little bells. So we'll take a look at that. That's going to be in 2 weeks' time, 3:30 on the Wednesday, just as normal, but just a bit of a heads up. I realise I haven't done a campanella one in a while, and a lot of people were asking about it, so that's why I've got that. And then quick reminder that this Monday we've got our next Can a Cappella Monday, our live jam, with the new format where we really dig deep into songs and techniques. So we've got an Irish week coming up. Thanks Karen for a brilliant idea. It's St Patrick's Day coming up, so I thought we'd have it would be nice to do an Irish one. So we're going to do a classic old Irish tune. I say old, it's 1957, Wild Mountain Time, and then we're also going to look at a bit of U2 as well, so going a little bit more modern. I love the fact that modern for me is like the 1980s. So it's all good. And this was the SUS, the SUS or Southern Ukulele Store hangout that we were talking about. If anyone is in the UK or they want to come over, this is going to be Saturday 28th of March down in Bournemouth at Southern Ukulele Store, and there's workshops from myself, Phil Dolman and Alex Beds, with also performances from Phil of Southern Ukulele Store and us all as well, so that would be fantastic. So really looking forward to that, guys. Oh, thanks Di, that's lovely to hear. Thank you. You guys are so encouraging. I love it. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so let's crack on and have a look at the piece that we're doing today. I'll bring it on screen. I think probably the best thing to do is for me to play it through. If you want to take a look at the version that I'm playing, The final version is on pages 7 and 8. Okay, so it's your last 2 pages of your worksheets. If you haven't already downloaded these, all my learnukulele.com Learn Ukulele with Matt people get them for free, which you'll find on the website learnukulele.com, or you can download them from my pay hip for £5. I'll bring stuff on screen as much as I can as well. Oh, Barbara, you know we'd love to have you as well, but we'll see you in the summer. We'll save some of that niceness for the summer for you. Okay, so I'll probably come in on close camera for this one, and I'll just have a little play through just so you can hear it. Let me just get it on my iPad so I know what I'm doing, because I don't know it off by heart. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Isn't that a pretty melody? Absolutely beautiful. Henry Mancini, what a songwriter. Really beautiful jazz chords with some gorgeous voicing. And more than that, just that melody. It's something I've come to appreciate later in life. A lot of kind of the early music that I was into, particularly kind of guitar rock and stuff, it was largely chord based, as this is, but I've really come to appreciate just the beauty of a melody, and that one, there's just something about it, all of those beautiful notes in the key of C, and it just gets me. It just gets me. Oh, Di, don't worry, I'll show you each bit step by step. Don't worry, I didn't realise that, but don't. But yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of how it goes anyway. What we're going to do, as you'll see in a minute, is we're going to break it down step by step. So we're going to start with the melody, then we're going to look at the chords, then we're going to look at how to combine them together, and then we're also going to explore what makes a good chord melody arrangement, how we make the melody notes really pop and really come out in the right places. And one of the things that I love about this arrangement is the first arrangement I ever did, which was quite a while ago now. But one of the things that I like about it is that it's fairly sparse, and I think because the song is so kind of gentle, I think it's really nice to have that kind of sparseness in the arrangement, which you'll see as we go as well. So let's just have a bit of time on this first page. I'm not just going to read it by rote, because that would be like death by PowerPoint, very, very boring. What we'll do is we'll explore a little bit at a time, and then we'll actually put it into the piece so you can see what's happening. Karen says, Audrey Hepburn, ginger cat and a guitar. Quite right, bit of breakfast at Tiffany's for you. Funnily enough, it was randomly on the telly late at night the other night. It's one of those late ones that I thought, I probably shouldn't stay up for, and I probably watched about half of it before I fell asleep. So, as I say here in the sheets, when I'm creating a chord melody, everything starts with the melody first. So the notes one at a time. So that means rather than the chords, you would literally just have. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways you can get that melody. Obviously, you can use your ears to work out the notes if you're able to if you've got great pitch and you can hear them. You can think about what key the song is in. And remember that every key has, sorry, the reason I'm giggling is that Fran said, don't forget the martini. Every key has 7 notes. Which is not too many, right? So in the key of C, which this one's in, the notes that are likely to be used are C, D, E, F, G, A and B. So no sharps and flats. And you can start to piece it together from there. Of course, there's many easier ways as well. You could Google the melody. What I would do, rather than just trusting what you find on the internet, because a lot of it isn't, it's not perfect. Go to someone like Sheet Music Direct or MuseScore, and they're good resources for finding correct melodies. And then I play it, really thinking about the phrasing, the timing, the feeling of that melody. That's really important to get a grip of the song. That's what we're going to do in just a minute. The other really important thing that you can do is if you do have the sheet music with the melody on, and if you learn to read music, you could do this for a piece that's in for any instrument pretty much. But say you had the melody here, and you might even have the tab of the melody, which would be really handy. The thing to check is if you're playing a high G uke. I'm playing low G today, but this is a high G arrangement, so you can use either, basically. It really doesn't matter. There's no melody notes on a G string, so either's absolutely fine. But what you want to do is just check the lowest note on the sheet is a low C. And I know it sounds daft, but a lot of people, I've had students working out arrangements in the past that have got really far. This is a low C, so you can see it, just so you can see. You've got the tab there to help you anyway. But a low C is the one that's just below the stave with a ledger line through it on its own. And the reason I say that is, as I say, I've had students that have got halfway through an arrangement and it's going so brilliantly, and then they hit a note which isn't in the range of the ukulele, so maybe like a low B flat or something. So it's worth really just checking through, literally before you do anything else, and just checking that it will fit within the key that we've got as well. This one does beautifully. Ideally, you want to find a key that puts most of the melody notes on the A string, because when we do the partial chords, which you'll see later on, it makes everything a heck of a lot easier. Sorry guys, just trying to get this the right size. It's not behaving. So that's the first thing that you'll do. Of course, there are a couple of other things you can do as you're doing that. Double check the time signature. Is it common time? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or is it a waltz? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this one, you'll see at the top there, 3/4 time signature means it's a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So pay close attention to that as well as you go. Rebecca's saying she spent the morning dog walking, listening to versions of this. Leifei has a beautiful one. Oh, I love Leifei, or Lofei, I never know how to pronounce it. Brilliant artist. We did one of hers recently, didn't we, from the start. Just gorgeous voice and a brilliant arranger. Okay, so let's have a look at the melody then. I'll keep this up here so you can see the music as we go, but I'll talk you through it bit by bit as well, okay? Now, everything that we're going to do today is largely going to be using the thumb of our picking hand. So whether you're right-handed or left-hand, whichever hand you've got down here, we're going to pick the notes out with that. I'll talk about technique in a little bit of time, but just for now, roughly pick these notes over the sound hole. The reason I suggest there is you don't get caught up in the fretboard up here, and you'll get a nice warm tone as well. So I'm literally just going to pick these notes with my thumb. Remember to keep that uke at a 45-degree angle. Excuse the rude headstock. It's just a beautiful piece of art by Chuck Moore. But I keep thinking I'm going to have to put a bikini on it. So we're going to start with this G, the 3rd fret of the E string. Notice that's a hollow dotted note. That means 3 beats. 1, 2, 3. And then the next measure, we've got a single beat note followed by a double beat note. So you can think of that as 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then we go back to the 2nd fret for a B note, off for an A, and then G, F, and back to G. Okay. So that's 2, open, 3, 1, 3 on the E string. It's fine to use the tabs to help. That's not a problem at all. So let's put together that opening phrase. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 3. Okay. Then we've got another low C, a B note here, 2nd fret of the A string, and then again we're coming back through the scale note. We've got an open A, and then that G, F, G, 3, 1, 3. Low C, and then the 2nd fret for D. Okay. Now don't worry if you can't keep up with this straight away. Remember this, when we get into the next bit, we'll go a bit slower and we'll take plenty of time. But this is just to illustrate getting to know the melody. And the other thing, don't forget, if you struggle in terms of counting along notes or anything like that, just listen to a version of the original. You could always slow it down and think about those timings. Get those melody notes in your head. Da, 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 da. Sometimes I'll actually sing it in my mind as I play it. So let's have a go from the top. Let's have a go. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 3. 2. Okay. And we'll keep going. At the end of that line, we've got an open E, followed by an open C. G, E, that's 3, 0 on the E string. D, C, that's 2, 0 on the next one up. And then G and E again, 3 off. Notice the repetition here, another 2, 0. And then we go up for this scale on the E string, off 3. And then back down, 3, 2 off on the A string. 2 off, that's BA. And then G here, 3rd fret of the A string. And then back to this 3. Now at the end of this measure, that takes us to the penultimate measure here. I actually realise I think I'm missing a note there. So hit another one of those Gs, another 3 on the E string. Good. And then 5, 3. 2 off. 3, 1, 3. Low C up here, 2nd fret of the A string, open A, 3, 1, 3 on the E again. Lovely. Low C, and D note, that's the 2nd fret of that string. And then the middle 2 strings in reverse, E, C, E, G, that's 0, 3. And then 3rd fret of the A string nearest the floor. Take that right up to 5, start of the last line. Back to 3, 3 on the next one up. Lovely. And then we come back through that scale again, 2, 0, 3, 1, 3. And then basically the same thing again, but we're just going to hit this low 0 first. That's low C. This takes us onto the 2nd page. Nearly there, guys. Fantastic. Okay, and then a low C. F note here, 1st fret for the E string. 2nd fret of the C string for D. And then the middle 2 in reverse. Going back to that lovely low C at the end. Um, Barbara, the extra G, let me go over that just so everyone can write it in if you've got your sheets. If you've got them on your computer or tablet, don't worry too much, because when we do the chord melody version, it is in there. It's right in the chord melody version, but for some reason in the original melody I left it out. If you want to add it, it's can you see this second line down? The third to last measure, you've got a D minor and a G7 chord, just so you know which measure we're on. Basically, there should be a G note underneath the G7, so that means a 0 on the E string. So if you want to add it, it's the third to last measure on this this line, and underneath the G7 chord, put a 0 on the E string, the second one down. That will give you that extra. Or is it a G? Sorry. Sorry, it'll be a 3 on the E string. Sorry, guys. A 3 on the E string for the G note there. Of course, you could hit an open G as well if you've got your high G. Don't worry, Jean, it's really tricky to do just off the bat like that, and I'm not expecting everyone just to be able to play along with the tabs. As long as you understand the process, and then what you want to do is take it chunk by chunk. Something like this, it's quite a good exercise to learn off by heart anyway. So what I might do is literally spend a bit of practice on each of my sessions in a week, just doing a phrase. So I might try and memorise this first bit. And then see if you can memorise that under your fingers. You could always keep practising it round and round. And then when you're comfortable with that, go to the next bit and you'll soon pick it up. But again, Jean, when it comes to putting the chords in a minute, when we do the chord melody version, it'll be a little bit easier because it won't just be random notes. You'll kind of have shapes and stuff, which will help you kind of get a foothold with where you are in the arrangement. But as I say, with all my stuff, don't worry if you can't play it at the moment. As long as you understand what's happening, you can take it away, slow it down and do it at your own pace. That's absolutely fine. So there we've got the melody. So that will kind of give us an idea of how to play through the melody, which is really important. And as I say in my sheets at the start, it always starts with a melody. So pretty much every arrangement that I make, I get that melody first, make sure I'm really happy with it, make sure that it's correct, thinking about where the strong beats are, where it feels comfortable. Then what I'll do is I'll start adding the chords. Now, before I actually physically add the chords to the chord melody arrangement, I'll play through them. Now, you may already have there are ways of working out the chords by ear, but that's a whole other tutorial. That would take me forever to go through that today. But I do have tutorials on that on my uke theory course and a couple of others if you're interested. But let's just have a look at the chords. Most pieces of sheet music, if you find them, even if they're for another instrument, even if it doesn't have the diagrams, it will tend to have the chords above the measures. And then you would literally just play through them. Now, as I said to, I think it might have been Ted and I can't remember who else it was. Was it Fran at the start? Don't panic if some of these chords are really hard to do, because when we turn it into a chord melody, because we're not going to strum all 4 strings necessarily, it makes it a lot easier. So when you do this next bit, this is just a means to an end. You're not going to have to play these chords all the way through when we come to the final arrangement, but it shows, kind of explains how it works. So it'll be worth going through them for sure. Ted said he noticed the first time I used my pinky to play the D, the second time I used my ring finger. That's interesting. That's interesting, Ted. So that D note was this high one here, 5th fret of the... where is it? Yeah, that's it. It goes from D to C, doesn't it? River. And Ted was saying the first time I used my 3rd finger and the next time I used my ring. No, it doesn't matter too much. Generally, it depends where the next note falls. If I've got a big reach, like back to here or here, when I'm playing a note up this part of the fretboard, I'll often use my little finger. so I can go back there easily. Sometimes if the note's only got to go back 1 or 2 frets, I use my ring finger because it's a bit stronger. But don't worry about being too, as long as you're using multiple fingers to move about, don't worry about being too conscious of which ones you're using. Basically, what you want to avoid is this, where you've got to move one finger, because that's too much effort to move that arm around. It's a little bit awkward. Whereas if you think about use 2 fingers. Generally, I do have a rule when I get down the bottom, when I come to the kind of what we often call the open notes or the chords in the notes in first position. I generally match a finger to the fret. So if I'm playing a note on the 2nd fret up here, like this D, I'll use my 2nd finger. 3rd fret, say here for this G, I use my 3rd first fret, 1st finger. That just allows you to kind of move those fingers around really freely, and it's got a fancy name, economy of movement. It just makes it easier to play stuff as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Do ask questions as we go along. I absolutely love it when people ask questions. Let me know how you're getting on. Any questions at all, do ask. There's no silly questions, only silly answers, as they always say, right? So let's have a look. We've got this sheet now, sheet number 5, page number 5, and we've got the original chords. You can still practice the melody if you prefer, if you want to play along with it, but have a go at these chords with me. Now, we're only going to strum the chords once. You could strum them all the way through like this, which would be a lovely way to play it, obviously. But if we just want to get used to the chords, let's just strum them with our thumb, because it'll keep everything nice and gentle and it will allow you to make the changes. Well, remember we're in 3/4 time. I'll pause here and there anyway to explain stuff. But if you wanted to do it in perfect timing, you would strum a chord and then count the rest of the measure. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's a couple of times later on where we've got 2 chords per measure, but I'll kind of explain those as I go. So as I say, won't do this in real time, but let me just go through the chords. So we've got the 1 chord, set us off. C, A minor, easy peasy lemon squeezy. F chord, back to C. Another F chord, a C chord. Then we've got this really unusual chord up here. Can you see where it says B minor 7 flat 5? What? B minor 7 flat 5. Believe it or not, in jazz music, that's a really common chord to play. It's the natural, or diatonic, that's just a fancy name for natural. It's the natural chord that comes up on the 7th note of the C scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So it's a common chord in jazz to come up in the C scale. And rather than say a minor 7 flat 5, most people call this a half diminished chord. Sometimes you'll even see it written as a circle with a line going through. Look a bit like almost like a percentage sign, or like a little degree C sign with a little line going through it. That tells you it's a half diminished chord. Okay. Don't worry too much about the theory at the moment. Let me show you how to play it. Remember, this will be way easier when we do the chord melody, because we're not going to play all 4 strings. In fact, we're only going to play this, so it's going to be really easy. But if you ever want to have a go at this chord, it's not as bad as it looks, basically. You just have to think about how to get to it. What you do is you put your finger down for a D minor, just like playing a normal D minor shape. And then your pinky, it's a bit of a squish. If I put my arm up here so you can see, it goes on the 2nd fret of that A string. So it's literally just that with a D minor over the top. Bit of a squish, right? But not too bad. And we call that a half diminished because this note here is only flatted once in a chord. Don't sweat the theory again, but a fully diminished chord would look like that. Half diminished looks like this. It's a gorgeous sounding chord, right? The lovely thing about it is when you go to the E7, you can take this finger away, and move this one back. And that gives you that E7, isn't that lovely? Okay. So let's go through the first line up to that point. Okay, I'll kind of hum the melody as we go. Again, if you can't play that yet, don't sweat it. Just hit the easier chords and you'll be fine. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Da da. F da da da. C da. F da da da. C. And then our awkward chord to E7. Isn't that a beautiful sounding progression? Then we've got an A minor, da da, C7 down the corner, da da, an F, da da. Another unusual chord now. We've got this B flat 9. Again, it's easier than it looks, I absolutely promise. So most people would do this as a bar chord, so you bar the whole of the first fret, this finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, and this finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. Okay. Now it's quite tricky to do because the area where you've got the highest tension on your uke is nearest the nut. So to bar the 1st fret is one of the hardest, either way you do it, it's one of the hardest ones to do. So what I tend to do on this chord is think about it as like a G major shape. You know how you can play a normal G like this? Just imagine moving that up towards your nose onto the top 3 strings, back here, and then your little finger here. Okay, you see that and you think that's an impossible chord to get to, but if you just think of it as like a normal G shape up here in the corner, little finger down here. And another way to get to this quickly would be to do your little finger and then just think G shape over the top. Okay, so let's go from that A minor on the top line. 1, 2, 3. Da, C7, da, da, F, da, da, then that chord, da, da, A minor, da, 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 da. Now these next 2 chords again, really tricky, but I'm going to show you ways of doing them slightly easier as we go. But if you want the full version, we've got another half diminished chord, this time an F sharp half diminished, or if you say it the full way, right, F sharp minor 7 flat 5. It's hard enough to say, let alone play, right? But a lovely sounding chord. What you do is you bar the 2nd fret and then you put this finger down here on the 3rd fret of the A string. Now what does that look like, folks? It's like a D7 chord, isn't it? So if you get a D7 chord down, you're halfway there. All you need to do is add this ring finger up here to the, 4th fret of the C string. Okay, that's your F sharp minor 7 flat 5, F sharp half diminished. Okay, if you find that really tricky, what you can do is just play a 3 finger version and just don't play the G string. That's a lot easier. Just put 1 finger down here, 2nd fret, 3rd fret on this string, 4th fret up there. That'll be absolutely fine. And then you could go to this shape for the B7 that follows, okay? Barring the bottom 2 there. This one up here. Or if you want the full version, think D7 with this finger. And then we move this one up to the 2nd fret of the C string, okay? So that's the trickiest bit, but remember, you've got those options. You don't have to play the full chord. And if you keep practicing it through and through, just take your time working on it slowly, just those 2 chords. You'll soon get it with practice. Then we've got a beautiful progression, E minor 7. That kind of looks like a G chord without this finger here. You might have seen this written as a G6. In another key, we call this the G6. But in this context, it's an E minor 7. We strum that. Move back here to the 1st fret of the C string for this A7. Now for this bit, this is the most complicated part of the piece, as you've probably imagined in terms of the chords. Because we've got 2 chords per measure and we're playing in 3/4 time, what it means is we're actually going to play the first chord for 1 beat, and the second chord for 2 beats. I'll show you what I mean. So from the F sharp one, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See how I hold on that last chord each time for a little bit longer. Okay, so that was E minor 7 to A7, D minor, just your bog standard, and G7. Fantastic. Let's keep going. Just C again. Da, A minor, da, da, F, da, 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 C, da, F, da, 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 C, da, da. Then that tricky chord again, think of it as D minor with this finger added to the E7. Nice. A minor, da da. Stay on it, da da. Again, tricky chord, but I'm going to show you another way to play it. But if you want to do it, it's exactly the same chord as the F sharp half diminished. It's just in this context, it has a different name. Again, I won't get into the theory because that's too much to cover today. But it's an enharmonic chord, we call it, is the fancy name. Just means 2 chords with the same name. And again, same thing, D7 shape, and then add this finger up here. 2, 3. Bottom line, just an F7. It looks like this with your little finger down here. Da, da, C, da, F, da, 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 C, F, da, 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 C, A minor, da, 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 G, da, da. Really nice, lovely, guys. So what I'm going to do, just to kind of practice that, is I'm going to play the chords through this whole thing, and you've basically got 3 options here. The first is grab a cup of coffee. Don't drink it as quick as that, 'cause you'll burn your throat, and just have a listen. And that's not a bad thing at all. You'll really appreciate the rhythm of the piece. You'll see how the chords fit together, and you'll see how I play them. Second option, play the chords with me. And if you get to a tricky chord that you can't do yet, just hold off. Just get it as best you can, or just hold off. And then third option, play the melody. So as I'm playing these chords, you could practice your... Okay, if you want to. Let's give it a go though, just so you can see how it sounds with the chords. I'll come in on close cam again. 1, 2, 3. Da, C, A minor, F, C, F, C. Tricky one, think D minor with that extra finger. And E7, A minor at the end there, C7, F, tricky one again, think G shape with your little finger if you can, A minor, hardest bit here, easier again, C, A minor, F, C, F, C. Think D minor with that added finger to an E7, A minor. For this one, think D7 with that added finger here, for that A minor 6, F7, and C. We're on the home straight now, guys. F, and C, and F, whilst I change the page, and C, A minor, D minor, G7, and C, again, even those chords are beautiful, aren't they? I mean, it's the melody that really is probably most memorable from this piece, but those chords are just so gorgeous. The way they fit together, really, really beautiful. Again, I can't go into through too much on that just because we need to get into the chord melody. But if you're interested in like why it goes from F sharp half diminished to the B, and then the E to the A, and the D minor to the G, it's all 2-5 progressions. So F sharp to B is 2-5-1 in the key of E, and then E to A is 2-5-1 in the key of D, and then D to G7 is 2-5-1 in the key of C. Basically, there's an explanation for this which makes sense, but it takes a long time to explain. But if you're interested, if you have a look at my jazz and blues course, I go into these 2-5 combinations in a lot of detail. So something that looks really complicated will make a lot more sense basically as we go. But just for now, just appreciate how beautiful those chord changes are. I just think they're gorgeous. That. It's lovely, isn't it? Really, really sweet. Okay, so let's go back to creating an arrangement. We've got one more thing to do, and then we'll put the whole thing together. I'll show you how it's created. So next up, what we need to do is think about using partial chords to tease the melody note out. So basically, imagine we've got melody on this hand, chords on this hand, and we're interweaving them together to create an arrangement which uses both. In effect, that's what a chord melody is. Chords and melody played at the same time. And there's various ways you can do that. You can either have the notes and then play chords in between the notes, or what we're going to do today is you're actually going to play chords at the same time as the notes, which you'll see. Now, basically, there's a relatively simple way to do that. I'll show you by using the actual arrangement itself. So this is going to be your last 2 pages of your sheets. Basically, what you do is you take the melody note. So you could compare back, but don't worry, I won't get you to flip it backwards and forwards. But the melody note here at the start was this G note, wasn't it? Da, da, da. So what you do to create a chord melody on that chord, so we have chord and melody note at the same time, first of all, we make sure that that note is included because that's the melody note. It has to be there, right? Then we think, what's the chord? Well, the chord is a C chord, which looks like this, doesn't it? You generally play it with that finger, but just to show you. So we're going to keep this finger here because we need this melody note whilst playing a C chord. And then basically what you do is you strum down with any finger. I like to use my thumb because it gives me the most control. And you stop after you hit the string that has the melody note on. Remember, this is the melody note, this G note. So you would hold the C chord down, strum as far as that G melody note, and that gives you the sound of a C chord and the sound of a G note at the same time. Now, because you only strum 3 strings, because you're not strumming all 4, you'll notice in the chord, in the tablature, there's no note indicated on the A string. And as long as you don't strum too far, you could just use a 003 like that, because we don't need this note. We're not going to include it, okay? As you strum down with that thumb, just a note on the technique, it's really important to land your thumb on the string that hasn't been played, rather than try and do this, kind of take it away. The reason is that's accurate. You can make sure you hit this string last. But the other thing that's nice is it means that you kind of dig in as you pass over those strings and you hit that A string, like so. Okay, all right. So let's have a look at the next bit, and we're going to do exactly the same principle. So the next bit, the melody note, if you remember, was this 5-3. That's a high D to that high C, right? Well, the chord at that point is an A minor, isn't it? Da, da, moon, river. So you basically have to think, how can I keep this note held down, the melody note, and play an A minor at the same time. It really is as simple as that. You've just got to use, the reason I use my first and forefinger here is because it's the easiest stretch. It's a bit tricky like that, okay? So I'm playing an A minor chord. I'm also adding the melody note. And because the melody note is on the A string, this one down the bottom, of course I need to strum all 4 strings. Okay. And then the next note, I'm not going to put a chord on. I'll speak about why in a minute. I'm just literally going to put any finger, I like to use my ring finger, down here on the 3rd fret of the A string. So you've got chord note. Okay. So if you put that together from the start, we have this 0, 0, 3 from nose to toes. That just means from the top string towards the bottom. And then we have the stretchy chord and the 3rd fret of that A string, okay? So a really nice kind of way of getting the chord and the melody at the same time. Moon, river. Just to kind of reassert that, let's have a look. Yay! I love aha moments. Those little light bulbs, Leslie. They're the best, aren't they? Absolutely, absolutely. Let me just finish my coffee a second, won't be a sec. Otherwise I'll fall asleep halfway through. Okay, all done. Sorry, it's very unprofessional, but it needed doing. So let's have a look at this third measure over, just to kind of reassert this. So the melody at this point, if you remember, goes B, that's the 2nd fret of the A string, and then off, that's an A, and then this 3, 1, 3 on the E string, that's G, F, G. Okay, so that's your melody. Da, 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 da. What chord do we need at that point? Well, as I say, any sheet music will generally have the chords written at the top, even if it doesn't have the chord diagram. And the chord that we need at that point, ta-da! Thanks, Sarah, is an F chord. Okay, so if we're strumming this, we'd be strumming da 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 da, and then it goes back to a C, right? Da. Well, let's think about this really, really logically. What's the melody note at the start of that measure? It's this 2, this B. How do I play that and an F chord at the same time? Well, if I use my ring finger to play that note, I can put an F chord over the top. Okay. And then because the melody note is down here, I strum all the way. Okay, just like that. And then take away this finger because we need this open A. And then this 3rd fret of the E string, G note. And then finally 1st fret. And then just to finish off that phrase, it's that 0, 0, 3 again. Okay, let me show you that in slow motion. Now, notice something really, really important here. I'm keeping my fingers down on the F chord as I hit the next few notes. I'll show you again. Sorry, I bring my thumb up so you can see as well. Now that's it's not necessarily written in the sheet music that way, but the reason I like to do this is it creates a really kind of mellifluous legato, it's often referred to as tone, where every note just kind of seeps into the next one and it sounds gorgeous. If I take away this F chord, as I hit the next few, it doesn't sound quite as nice, especially if I really exaggerate. Do you see what I mean? But if I keep that F chord down, whoops, I do that again. See how it smooths everything out, which is really gorgeous. So we've basically worked out how chord melody works, and then I've shown you how to do it. Now, this first bit obviously is going to be quite tricky if you're new to chord melody, getting your fingers in the right place and reading tab quick enough. So take it nice and slow, and if you can't do it at the moment, again, just to reassure you, you can take your time later on. As long as you understand what's happening and how to do it, you can do it with time, right? But let's just put that first bit together so you can hear and see what's going on then. Come in after 1, 2, 3 if you're trying it live. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 3. 2, 3. Isn't that lovely? So you've got the sound of the melody, which is you've got the sound of the chords. Moon, river, wider than a mile. You put them together. You've got that beautiful chord melody style, which is so lovely. And that is in effect what arrangers like myself do when they create these arrangements. We just take the melody, which already exists, we take the chords, which already exist, and to create something new and interesting, we put them together in this way. It's good to hear. Thanks, Sonia. Thank you. Wayne said, reminds me of Samantha Muir's, at least I'll be clean and caffeinated. I like that. Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair enough. Keeps you going. Okay. Now, one last thing which is really important, and again, I won't do this by rote because it's really boring if I just read out a sheet. But in your original sheets right at the start, it talks about where to put the chords. So this is using partial chords, which basically just explains what we just did there. But notice that I talked about at the start as well, thinking about where the strong beats fall. What we mean by strong beats is kind of like the pulse, if you like. We often call it, I like to refer to it as a musical heartbeat of a piece of music. Where's the musical heartbeat of this piece of music? And for me, that musical heartbeat is on the first beat of every measure, because we got 3, 4. I'll show you what I mean. It's kind of where you would clap if you're clapping along. Not that you really clap along to Moon River because it's very slow, but you'll see what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So in most waltzes, that pulse is on the first beat of the bar. Moon, river, wider than a mile, I'm crossing you in style. Apparently I can't click today, but you get the idea, right? It's on the first beat of every measure. So you'll notice in this first bit, where have I put the chords? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. They're on that first beat of every measure. So it allows the arrangement to breathe by not having chords all the time, but it highlights the pulse as well. And that's really important. Some arrangers will do this, and I'll put a chord on every single beat. They call it kind of chord soloing. That would sound like this. But to my mind, you want those melody notes, some of them, to breathe. So it's nice to just put the chord on the first beat, which is what I'm doing. Let's carry on. And this next bit, I love this next bit. For me, but as I say, this was the first proper chord melody I did because I'm really in love with this melody. I think it's amazing. When I get to the end of this line, you get an aha moment where you realise actually chord melody sometimes makes things easier than playing chords. You wouldn't believe it. So yeah. Oh, Karen's just saying lots of opportunity here to add some vibrato. I can do it with one finger, but doing it on a 2-finger chord can be a problem. She tends to clamp the neck with her thumb. Yeah, so what I tend to do with vibrato, generally, it's where you wiggle on a note, technical term, right? It makes the note last a bit longer, and it adds a softness to it and a little warble. The key thing really, as much as possible, is to take the thumb off the back Imagine that this finger here, whichever one you're vibratoing on, is grown roots into the fretboard. So it doesn't move backwards and forwards like this. It stays where it is. And then the wobble actually comes from the elbow. Okay, so you might do this. Karen's saying it, and quite rightly so, it's quite tough to vibrato when you've got a chord down. But you can do it. You still need to allow that thumb to come off the back of the uke. Hold the uke with this arm. I'll bring this back in a sec. So hold the uke with this arm. So if I go, notice I can take this arm away, and this bit of it is holding the uke in place. Allows me to get that thumb off. Even with the thumb there, you can still vibrato a bit, just wobbling as you go. You don't need to go too crazy. And again, you don't have to do that. It's not indicated on the music, but I know me and Karen have often talked about legato and how we both love the way it sounds. It's all about kind of lengthening those notes and sweetening them. So you can have a go if you want to. Basically do that on any note that lasts a couple of beats and has got a bit of time to ring out. Okay, so back to the chord melody. We got to the fourth measure, the end of the measure that has a C on it, fourth one along. And the next bit is basically a kind of repeat of something we've already done. So we've got a low C note, okay, just this one with no note on it at all, well, open, no finger on it at all, I mean. And then we've got this F chord, but the melody note is this B, this second fret of the A string, so we're just going to add that in again. Off, 3, 1, and then to C to the G. Now this is something else. I know I'm going on a bit today, but I really want to give you as much help as possible with all this stuff. When you're playing chord melody or an arrangement like this, think about the repetition, because there'll be a lot of it. It will help you to remember it. I'll show you what I mean. Here, imagine this is in the memory bank. Well, this next bit is basically the same again, isn't it? So you've got a repeated phrase there you already know, which is lovely. Fantastic. Ted's got it! Whoop whoop! Fantastic. That's what I love to hear, Ted. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant. Now this next bit is where I was banging on about the fact that the chords aren't as hard to do when you do chord melody sometimes. This is a perfect example, right? And this kind of, it's really great. It kind of blows your mind, but it shows you how it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these last 3 measures. And once we've got this, we'll be able to do most of the piece now, okay? So let's have a look where the melody notes were in the original. Again, you don't have to whiz back in your sheets. I'll just move this one back so you can see it. Okay. So on this B minor 7 flat 5, the B half diminished, the melody note was here. And then on the E7 chord, it's here. And on the A minor chord, it's this C note. Okay. That's the melody at that point. Really, really simple. Now, the chords look are really tricky. Remember we had that B minor 7 flat 5, followed by an E7, followed by an A minor. Really tricky to do. But think about our technique, if you like. Remember that we're going to stop with our thumb when we've hit the string that has a melody note on it. And this is where sometimes it's really cool because it comes into our service. So the melody note here was this 2nd fret of the C string. Okay, so there's no point in holding down the rest of this chord. We just need the notes that are on the top 2 strings, right? Because we've stopped when we've hit that one. So that means this chord that's really tricky to do like this becomes that. All right, it's only 2 notes, but remember a lot of chords are only made up of 3 notes. And then what we do then for the next chord, because the melody note is this one here, this E7, the first thing we're going to do is just strum the top 2 just to give it a bit of flavour. You'll see, there we go, I'll bring this one. And then the E note comes in afterwards. And then the A minor on the next one, we just strum the top two again. Okay. So what looked like this when we were first doing it, which is really horrible, actually becomes this. Okay. And it works because at that point the song's really rested. It's just done all this busy stuff. And then it rests. So it's fine to just have those notes coming out, just a hint of a chord. Isn't that cool, right? That's cool. So just again, just to reiterate that, and that's because the melody note was this one, the chord was this, and we're only strumming the top two strings because that's where the melody note is here. So that becomes this. And then on the next one, that becomes this. And on the next one, A minor is as it was, but we just strum the top two. Isn't that lovely? Really sweet, right? Really, really cool. One last bit of theory, and then I promise the rest is basically just showing you how to play it. So don't sweat this, but one last bit of theory, because I think this is really interesting. Measure 10, the next start of the next line. Let me show you how I ended up with this shape. 303. Now there is some kind of theory behind this that makes it make sense. Basically, let's think about it. The melody note at that point, don't worry about looking, I'll just tell you, is this G at the 3rd fret of the E string. River. Okay, so this 3rd fret of the E string. The chord is a C7, isn't it? Which is this one here. Now, there's a problem when you're doing a C7 with chord melody about not strumming all 4 strings, because what tells you whether a chord is a C7 or a C is the note on the A string, right? So if we don't include that A string, our ears as musicians and as listeners aren't going to hear a C7, they're just going to hear a C. It's kind of ambiguous. So you think, well, okay, let's deal with that then. How do we deal with that? Well, the note that makes a C7 a C7 is this B flat note, this one here, 1st fret of the A string, right? So what we do is think, is there somewhere else I can play this note? And here's a cool thing that will help you with learning your fretboard as well. Every time you play a note on the A string, you can play the same note 2 frets higher on the G string. So B flat can be played in 2 different places. Mine sound different because I've got a low G, but if you're playing a reentrant uke, they'll be exactly the same. So when we do this C7, what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the melody note and we're going to replace this B flat with this one up here. And basically that was just my way of just explaining why we ended up with this shape, because it's a C7 chord. We need this melody note, but we need to make sure we have that note in it as well. So we're going to play it up there. If all that made your brain hurt, just know it's 303 and that's how to play it. That's the important thing if you're learning how to play this stuff. But yay! It's cool, isn't it, Fran? I kind of loved knowing this stuff because it's like, oh, okay. Because it kind of explains it. You might be playing another piece of tab and you see that 303 chord and you think, how the heck is that a C7? This is why you end up with these weird shapes, basically. So, aha! I love it. I love these aha moments. Do you guys in the States, Leslie, do you guys know Alan Partridge, the British comedian? Steve Coogan and Alan Partridge is the character. Whenever you guys say aha, it always makes me think of him because his catchphrase is aha, which is great. Okay, so one more. Got a question from Leslie just before we get to the next bit. Oh, Wayne's just saying, so it's okay to drop the third for the 303 C7. Yeah, what Wayne means by that is we're dropping the E note of the C7. Sometimes, Wayne, you've got to kind of make a value judgment. What's the most important note in the chord? And the E note is important because it tells you whether it's a major or a minor. But the flatted seventh note in a dominant chord is the most important because it tells you the difference between is it a major or a dominant chord. So yeah, basically, long story short, Wayne, you can drop the E and it will sound fine. So yeah. Yeah, Leslie, you're going to have to look him up. Aha! He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. So Leslie was also saying, on measure 9, how do you know to add the open C string? Let me see. So measure 9. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So how do we know to add that open C string on the A minor, Leslie's asking. So after I do those last 3 measures of the first line, so we get this. The reason we've got to add that C there, Leslie, is because that's where the melody note is. So you had, obviously we didn't flip back, but if you flip back, see on that line there, we've got that low C. So that's why you know that you're only strumming those top 2. And that's really important because if I accidentally strum too far, it wouldn't have the right sound to it. So yeah, you've got to include that melody note. That's basically what's happening there. Okay, back to the chord melody. Now, believe it or not, that's the hardest bit done of the lesson because you understand now roughly or totally, depending on how well I explained it, how to do chord melody. Let's just kind of put everything into place now and finish off the song so we can put the rest of it together. Okay, and I'll kind of talk you through what I'm doing as we go as well. So that took us to measure 10 on that C7. Okay, the next measure you're just going to play the top 2 strings of an F because it's the melody note is this low C again. Now that's the same as the A minor, right? Because we don't get as far as this F. But it's amazing how your ears fill in the gaps even if you don't hear the F note. It still sounds right, okay? Here's another interesting one. For this B flat 9, because the melody note is here, and the chord looked like this, right? That's a B flat 9 chord, believe it or not. The melody note is here. We don't need this one anymore, so you can actually end up just rearranging to this chord shape. So 1, 2, 3 going from left to right. Partial A minor again. Off 3 on the E string. Now these next 2 chords, this is the trickiest bit. Now this is the hardest bit of the song because the melody note here is on the A string. I'll show you what I mean. That's going wherever you're going. Okay? So we need those 2 melody notes on the A string. That means that technically we've got to play that horrible F sharp minor 7 flat 5, F sharp diminished, and the B7 fully. And if we do that, we get both the melody notes and the chords. Okay? Now let me show you 2 ways of dealing with that because it's really hard, okay? But there's ways and means, right? So if you want to do the full chord, again, just think about how to do it. So F sharp, the F sharp type chord, the half diminished, is a D7 with this finger added. Now the most important note is this melody note here. So when you're doing your bar chord, make sure you put the most pressure on this note. Because even if I don't play a very good bar chord, so it like chucks up here, as long as I've got that note ringing out at the end, it will sound nice, okay? So really concentrate on that one. And then the same when I do this chord, make sure there's loads of pressure on this note here. So as you're holding the bar chord down, put most pressure down the bottom. Because again, if the top doesn't sound that great, as long as I've got that note, that's going to really clean it up. So I get this. Okay. If you find that too hard, and that's absolutely fine if you do, it is really hard. You could do the three finger version, which is a lot easier. So for this one, rather than doing a full bar, which can be quite painful, just bring that down there. Okay, and just strum the bottom 3. And then for the next chord, just do this. Just bar in the bottom 2 of the second fret, and this one up here, 3rd fret of the E string. So you could do, for this one, you could just go. Okay, it's not quite as full sounding as the full chord. Whoops, what am I doing wrong? Sorry, I put that in the wrong place, didn't I? But it works. Okay, so don't feel you have to play every single note in the chord, and sometimes you've got to make a value judgment. Is it worth having a messy sounding chord with all 4 notes, or is it nicer to have a really clean chord with less notes? And that's really important. If you watch someone like James Hill or Jake Shimabukuro, I was talking about this in another lesson the other day. You'll notice they play a lot of these partial chords. Well, they won't play the full chords, which would look like this. They'll do these partial ones. And part of the reason is for the way they sound, but also they know that they're going to get a really clean chord by doing it that way. So it's okay to not play the note on a G string if you find it really, really tricky. Eventually, you know, if I was your teacher, like 1-to-1, I would probably eventually get you to learn these chords the proper way, because it's a good thing to be able to do, isn't it? But don't sweat it. A lot of professionals don't, all right? So you don't have to either. That's the hardest bit, basically. Rebecca's got a great question. She's just asking, does a radius fretboard help with that bar chord? This is a really interesting question, Rebecca. I'm really glad you asked it. So a radius fretboard is, you know, if you look this way down a fretboard, a lot of fretboards like this one is completely straight this way. It's just a perfect slab of wood, if you like, just going straight across. Others have a slight, I'm exaggerating it here, but others have a slight curve on them like this, which means they're radiused. It kind of means that like the front, it's not as exaggerated as this, but it has a curve on it, like the back of your neck ever so slightly. And what that does is it means that it fits the natural form of your finger. You don't have to straighten it so much. You can hold it at this angle as opposed to this, okay? Now, it has benefits. When you're doing some of those bar chords, it can feel a little bit more comfortable for that first finger because you can kind of bend it slightly rather than being dead straight. It does have drawbacks as well though, Rebecca, because sometimes I find when you get a chord like this is a really good example, and you have this note down here, I find because that is bent further away, it's like the dippiest bit, if you like, in a fretboard. Sometimes you have to be really careful not to pull the string off the fretboard, and sometimes it can be really hard to hit those A notes cleaner on a radius, and actually on a flat one it's easier. So it's kind of, it's one of those ones, my father-in-law always calls it broad. He's from up north, broad as long, eh? It's as broad as it is long, you know. It's kind of radius fretboards help in one way and not another. So a lot of people love them. I've got ukes with radius and non-radius, and I find other things affect me as much as the radius, like the nut width and how high the strings are off the fretboard and stuff like that. But yeah, it can help though. It can help. Karen says if she can't hit a certain note in a chord, she'll drop that note and sub for another one. So a stretch from 2 to 7 is really hard. Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. And when we do our next live lesson, Karen, and everyone, on Campanella style, we're going to look at playing notes in lots of different places, and you can use that to help with chords. So yeah, absolutely. So that's the hardest bit. Anyway, the good news is that's the hardest thing you have to do today. We're either going to do this, da, da, or we're going to do our 3-finger. Da, da. Oh, I did that slightly wrong, didn't I? Sometimes I have to really think about this one when I'm doing it. Da, da. Okay, that's your 2 options. But then it gets easier from there because we just hit this open A. The E minor 7 chord, you're going to strum all the way because the melody note's down here. A7, you're going to strum all the way because the melody note's here. We just hit this melody note here. And then D minor, you're going to strum all the way, and G7. Okay. Now notice 2 things here. Remember at the start I said I put the chords on the pulse, which is the first beat of every measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, here there's more than 1 chord per measure, so we have to include it. If you don't include it, you miss the nice harmony, like the textures that are created by that harmony. So the part of the reason this bit sounds so lovely is because there are 6 chords in it. So if we only play the chord at the start of the measure, we're missing out one of those lush chords, basically. So whenever there are more chords than 1 per measure, I will include both of them, which is what's going on here, basically. I remember in terms of the timing, we hit the first chord for half as long as the second one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When I get to this D minor G7, I like to slow things down. They call it ritandando. It just kind of teases it a little bit. So when I do this last bit, I think I did that in the demo. I tend to go a little bit slower on the D minor to G7 and just don't strum quite so hard, and it has a nice kind of feel of just easing off and teasing when we get to that bit. Now basically that's it. Let's just finish it off. We're only halfway, but there's loads of repetition, which is really nice. So let's go from this last measure of the second line. That's that funny C chord with the G added, 0, 0, 3. Stretch 2 to 5. Exactly the same as the start here, F with this note. 0, 0, 3 again. Same again, F with this note added. C to G, otherwise known as 0, 0, 3. And then those 2-finger chords, 2, 2 and 1, 2. You can either move that one back or put that one down. Another 2-finger chord. Sorry, 2-string chord, I should say. Then we turn it into a 3-chord. 3-string chord because the melody note's on this E string. Hit the G. Then we've got another one of these shapes. Remember, this chord's the same as the half diminished one earlier. Well, again, you can do the whole thing because the melody note is here and we need it. Well, there it is. But you can do the same thing we did earlier. You can do this shape, and that's absolutely fine, okay? Then we've got an F7. If you can play it like this and stretch up here. Okay, that's one way of doing it. But you might have noticed in my demo, I actually play it by just barring the whole of the 5th fret. Technically that's an F6 rather than an F7, but it works really beautifully. So if you want on this bit, rather than doing this, because we need this high note, you can just, where were we? I've lost where I was now. Yeah, here we go, so this one. You can just bar the 5th fret and strum all the way. Okay, so that's measure 28. If you want to write that in as an option, it'll be 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, and then we're on the home straight, this C note here, 0, 0, 3. Now let's just pause here just for this very last bit. There's a bit on the second page again, but it's repetition, okay? Let me just explain what's happening on these F chords, just because it's a really good chance to show you how the chord melody is working. So if you kind of soak all this up, you can have a go yourself. Karen says making her want to try this on her baritone with a radius fretboard. It would sound lush on a baritone. You could play all the same chord shapes, Karen, just know that you're in a different pitch. It would sound lovely, really nice and deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this third from last chord, the first F major in this line is the fourth measure over. Okay, the chord was this, wasn't it? Da 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 da. So it's an F chord, but the melody note is this G. This G note. So we've got to play an F chord, which looks like this, with this G note added. And again, because the melody note is on this string, what we're going to do, we're not going to strum this string, are we? Because we're going to stop after we've hit the melody note. Now, that gives us two fingers on the same string, right? So actually, the way I tend to do this, and you might have noticed this in the demos, either like this or this. I use my first finger up here, my second finger here. And again, you might look at a piece of tablature and you might think, how the heck is an F chord played 2-0-3? Well, it's an F chord, the G note's added, we don't need that one, and sometimes you end up with something completely different from where you started. And that allows me then to move fingers to get these next few notes. And I do it again on the next bit. Okay. And then finally, just to finish off, that 0-0-3. I often call this a C to a G because it's a C chord with this G added. Then we just play the top two of the next chord, top three of the next chord. Notice that this next note, your fingers are already in the right place. A quiet G7, an open E, and the top two of a C. And then if you like, you can just strum a C to finish it off. Isn't that beautiful? Really, really lovely. So just a bit of a recap and a conclusion. I will play this through one more time for you, so that if you want to have a try at playing along, you can do. If it's too hard at this point, don't panic. What you can do is still play along with me, but play the basic chords, or see if you can play the melody at the same time. It's a lovely thing to do. No worries, Karen. That's a lovely thing to do as well. That's absolutely fine. But just to conclude what we did, we took the melody first because that was really the most important thing. We made sure that was in a correct key for our ukulele playing. We worked out the notes, or we used some sheet music to find those notes. Next up, we took the chords and we practiced them on their own just to make sure we understand where they come in, why they're important, how they sound. We put the two together by using partial chords. So remember, we played a chord, made sure the melody note was contained within it, and then we just strummed as far as that melody note is. And that's the important bit. That's the whole essence of this way of playing chord melody. You play a chord, you add the melody note if it's not already there, and you stop when you get to the melody note, which is really lovely. We put the chords generally on the strong beats in 3/4 time. That's the first beat of every measure. In 4/4 time, common time, that's often the first and the third beat. It just feels like where you want to put the chords, but you can experiment for sure. And then finally here, just a little bit of a conclusion, just to think about chord melody. It doesn't need to be as complicated as it looks. You might look at an arrangement and think, how have all those chords got there with these strange numbers? But now you know, they're often just chords that have been altered and made into partial chords. Melody first, harmony supports it, and then try not to overcomplicate it. So just use chords sparsely on a nice ballad like this, and it will sound terrific. And as I say down the end, one of the best ways you can practice anything like this is try it yourself. Now, I started with Moon River because apparently I'm a bit of a sadist. And I like making things difficult for myself. But take a really simple song that you know, maybe even a nursery rhyme, something like Frere Jacques. See if you can work out the melody and then the chords and put them together. Start with something simple and see if you can make it work. It's a lovely, lovely thing to do. Now, you might think, well, I don't have any, I don't know how to work out melody or chord off the top of my head. But what you can do is take a music book, right? This is one I use a lot. As they say on the BBC, other music books are available. This is one of my favourites. It's by Jim and Liz Beeloff, Daily Ukulele. It's got 365 songs in it, believe it or not. But the brilliant thing here, when you get music that's written out like this, and there are tons and tons of books like this published, right? You can even use piano arrangements if they're in this format. You've got the chords written at the top, so you know what the chord is in each measure. And you've got the notes written out. Now, you might have to look up these notes to work out where to play them on your fretboard. Obviously, if you do learn to sight read, it makes it a lot easier. But you could use this. You could think I'm playing a G chord. And what's that? It's a D note, isn't it? Which means I'll hold down a G shape and strum the top two strings. And you can use these books to create your own chord melody arrangements. It's a really powerful thing to do and to experiment with. That's how I got started, basically. I take these jazz books that had, generally piano ones, that had the melody and the chords, and I put them together, and it sounds cool, right? Which is great. Now, I'll play through it one last time, really, really slowly, the chord melody version. If you feel confident enough, have a go. I'm not expecting anyone to be able to do it yet. If you can, that is absolutely amazing. But just give it a go. And if you lose your way or you make mistakes, that's totally, totally cool. We all do, right? If you want a challenge, but you don't want to play the chord melody yet, try playing just the melody along in time with me. It's a great thing to do. And if you prefer, try playing just the chords or put the whole lot together. Okay, let's give it a go. I'll pause slightly when I get down here, folks, because I need to flip the page, all right? Just so you know what's happening if I pause there for a second. But from the top, let's give it a go. It'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Then there's 2 finger chords. 303, next line now. 1, 2, 3. Plus the full chord, but you can do the 3 part. And slow down here. Yeah, tease it. 3rd line down now. Finger chord, 2 string chord, and again 3 strings. Remember, you can do the cheat version there. I like that 5th fret there. This is where you've got to pause for a second whilst I turn the page. A minor, D minor, top 3, G7, and then finally, and if you like, fantastic, brilliant, brilliant. Ted, yeah, I've got sorry guys. I'll do this in a sec. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I think it's a really, really lovely one to kind of have a go at and explain how this all works. I could have done something really simple to explain chord melody, and on my intermediate course, there's a really sweet version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And you might think, oh God, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but we play it in such a way, it sounds really sweet. So if you want to kind of really bed this in how it all works, check that out. But it's nice to try something really beautiful, isn't it, with this chord melody style? I think it works for explaining how it all the mechanics behind it, which is great. So I hope you enjoyed that. There was some real light bulb moments going off in that lesson, and that's really special to me. That's when I was learning ukulele, those kind of moments where you suddenly understand something for the first time, they're really joyful and it's really magical. So I hope some of you had those, yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Remember, you can watch these lessons back anytime at all. They're all available on my website, learnukulele.com, and they're all archived there. If you go to fortnightly workshops on my website, so if you click live and then fortnightly workshops, you'll find a whole archive there. There's literally hundreds of these that you can look at. And likewise, if you enjoyed the arrangement, I've got hundreds of arrangements on the ukulele site, on my website as well, learnukulele.com. And if you're a member, you get them instantly. So if you join up as a member, if you're not already, you get all of those arrangements straight away. You can have a go at them. And all of those arrangements are linked to lessons. You can do a little search to find the lessons as well if you want a specific one. I've also got the 10 sequential courses as well. So if you like doing things in a structured way, there's a whole beginner's course with 30 lessons. There's an intermediate and then a next steps, and then all the other courses as well. Ted, to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. I've got your email somewhere, I'm sure, if I search for it. But otherwise, just Ted, just email me at matt@learnukulele.com, matt@learnukulele.com. I've been a bit kind of snowed under with emails since I got back from the cruise, because Wi-Fi wasn't great on the boat, and so I got a bit behind. So if I haven't replied to you or anyone else, so apologies. I am working on it and I'll get there eventually. But yeah, ping us another email, Ted, or I'll email you. But accommodation for retreat work week, I can sort that. I can help you find places to stay. So absolutely get in touch for that. Oh, and thank you. Learn loads today. That's what I love to hear. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Much appreciated. Laura did it. That's amazing, Laura, because that's a really tricky one. So absolutely fantastic. Well done. Brilliant. Spirit Walker caught only the last 15 minutes, but that was lovely. Ah, thank you. Like I said, if you want to watch the replay anytime, it'll be available straight afterwards, and then archived on my website as well. So brilliant. Fran said, oh, let's get rid of this background, then you can see it better. There we go. Fran said, made it through most of it. Can't wait to practice it some more. Yay. Love it. It's a brilliant feeling, isn't it, when you've got a new piece to have a go at? I love it. It still happens to me all the time. It's just great. Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Thanks, Charlene. Oh, I told you guys are brilliant. Honestly, I always leave these lessons like really buzzing. Sometimes Sharon's like, aren't you just really exhausted having like basically talked for an hour? But I think it gets the adrenaline going and all what are the happy hormones called? Is it endorphins? It kind of gets all the endorphins going and makes me happy. So yeah, it's particularly easy to get that going when it's a nice piece like that as well, isn't it? So thanks, guys. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Wayne. Fantastic. Don't forget that we're back on Monday for another Canacapella live lesson where we're going to look at 2 songs. I'll bring it up on screen in a minute. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, if you could give the video a thumbs up, that would be absolutely amazing. It really helps the algorithm pick up for those lessons. And As I've mentioned before, if you want to support my work, best thing you can do is sign up to the website, because that's just like that's like my bread and butter, and that keeps me going basically. But if you want to support me and you can't do it financially, what is really big for me, but also all the other teachers as well out there, just mention us. So if someone's looking to learn ukulele, send them to the website. If someone's like wanting to learn how to do chord melody in your ukulele group, just let them know I exist, basically. And that's a massive favour for me. So thanks, guys. Really, really appreciate it. So this is the Canacapilla on Monday. We're going to do Wild Mountain Times, one of my favourite songs of all time. I just absolutely love it. Plus we're going to do a bit of U2, so couldn't be more different, could they? Two Irish songs, one Scots-Irish and the other one fully Irish. And we'll put those two together and we'll have loads of fun. I'm going to teach you about how to finger pick in that one as well, which would be great. And then our next live lesson is going to be in 2 weeks' time, and I'm going to teach you all about that campanella ukulele, where we have those lovely notes. Kind of ringing out over each other, which sounds really, really sweet. So we'll have a look at that in a fortnight, which should be great fun. So yeah, thanks guys, thank you. Ted, we all do as well. It's difficult not to tense up. Ted's just saying he tenses up during the tough shapes. The trick is not to really throttle that uke, because I do too when I'm nervous. When I go on stage, sometimes I press too hard on my ukulele strings and I tense up. I also do it on guitar sometimes with the kind of tough shapes. But what you want to do, if you can, is just play as loosely as possible. Try not to press too hard. Remember, you only need to press as hard as it takes to get that string to touch the metal fret. So even on those tough chords, don't push too hard. The reason I say it's really important is it can cause aches and pains, and particularly if you've got any form of arthritis, that can really start hurting. So go easy and try not to tense up. But no, it's human, Ted. We all do it, even though I tell you not to. So it's absolutely fine. I get it completely. Totally. That's brilliant. Thanks, Fran. Thank you. Thanks, Sandy. That's lovely to hear. And Sandy, you've got the same first name as my daughter. I think I've told you that before, haven't I? So extra points. Laura's got a campanella version of Moon River. Oh, brilliant. I love it. Hey, if you're able to, Laura, ping that over. If you're able to email or Facebook it to me, I'd love to see that. That would be great. But well done. Brilliant. All right, everyone, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks for another wonderful lesson. I've really come away buzzing from that. So really, really appreciate your lovely, lovely comments and friendship and support. I'll see you guys on Monday, if not before, and in 2 weeks' time for our next live lesson. If you haven't already seen, there's another video on Facebook as well, so completely free. Check it out. Take care, everyone. Bye.